Hello, I'm Sebastian. Welcome to 9 Trees podcast. Today, I will summarize and review the book. The Psychology of Procrastination by Hayden Finch explores why capable, well-intentioned people delay important tasks and how to change that pattern without relying on shame or brute force discipline. Instead of treating procrastination as laziness, the book frames it as a predictable response to discomfort, uncertainty, and emotional friction. It connects everyday delays to underlying drivers such as fear of failure, perfectionism, low task clarity, and the brain's preference for immediate relief over long-term payoff. With a practical, behavior-focused approach, Finch guides readers to identify their personal procrastination triggers and replace avoidance with small, repeatable actions. The emphasis is on building motivation through environment design, better planning, and emotion regulation, rather than waiting for inspiration to strike. Readers can expect a clear explanation of common procrastination loops and a toolkit of strategies to start tasks sooner, follow through more consistently, and build a more trusting relationship with their own goals. I will give you key takeaways from this book. Firstly, procrastination as an emotional regulation strategy. A central idea in modern procrastination research is that delay is often about mood repair, not time management. When a task triggers anxiety, boredom, self-doubt, or resentment, avoidance provides quick relief, even if it creates bigger costs later. The book highlights how this short-term comfort becomes reinforcing. You feel better immediately after putting something off, so the brain learns to repeat the pattern. Over time, that loop can turn into a habit that feels automatic, especially under stress or fatigue. Understanding procrastination this way shifts the goal from forcing productivity to reducing the emotional threat of starting. The reader is encouraged to notice what feelings show up right before avoidance, such as fear of doing it wrong, worry about evaluation, or frustration about the task's size. From there, the focus becomes building skills that allow discomfort without escape. Practical approaches include naming the emotion, lowering the entry barrier to begin, and using brief time starts that create momentum. This reframing helps reduce shame and increases agency because it treats procrastination as a solvable behavioral pattern rather than a fixed personality flaw. Secondly, hidden triggers, perfectionism, fear, and identity pressure. Many procrastinators are not indifferent about results. They care deeply, which can make starting feel risky. The book examines how perfectionism and fear of failure can create a paralysis where doing nothing feels safer than producing imperfect work. When self-worth becomes tied to performance, tasks can trigger identity pressure. If you fail, it feels like you are a failure. That mindset encourages delay, last-minute rushing, or constant research and preparation as a way to avoid judgment. Finch also explores fear of success and fear of change, where completing a project brings new expectations, harder standards, or unfamiliar responsibility. Another common trigger is ambiguity. If the next step is unclear, the brain treats the task as high effort and uncertain reward, making easier distractions more attractive. The practical takeaway is to separate outcome from identity and shift evaluation from perfect results to workable progress. Strategies include redefining success as completing the next small step, setting standards that match the context, and creating a minimum viable version of the task. By reducing the psychological stakes, starting becomes less threatening, which makes consistent action far more likely. Thirdly, motivation that works, values, rewards, and momentum. Waiting to feel motivated is a common trap because motivation often follows action rather than preceding it. The book emphasizes building reliable motivation by aligning tasks with values and by shaping incentives in the environment. When a goal connects to something personally meaningful, it becomes easier to tolerate discomfort and persist through boredom. Finch encourages readers to clarify what a task serves, such as freedom, mastery, health, family stability, or creative expression. That values link becomes a steady source of drive when quick dopamine alternatives compete for attention. The book also leans on the idea of momentum. The first few minutes are usually the hardest, and once you begin, resistance drops. Practical tools include using start rituals, setting micro goals that can be completed in a short sprint, and pairing effort with immediate, healthy rewards. Readers learn to engineer a sense of progress because progress itself is motivating. This approach replaces vague self-pressure with concrete feedback loops: do a small action, see movement, feel capable, repeat. Over time, motivation becomes less about mood and more about a system that makes action feel predictable and rewarding. Fourthly, designing systems, time, environment, and friction reduction. If procrastination is a habit loop, the most effective change often comes from changing the system around the behavior. The book highlights practical ways to reduce friction to start and increase friction to distract. This can include preparing materials in advance, simplifying task entry points, and removing decision overload. When a task requires too many choices up front, the brain defaults to avoidance. Creating a clear plan, a defined workspace, and a single next action lowers cognitive cost and makes beginning easier. The book also addresses scheduling in a realistic way, recommending shorter blocks that respect attention limits rather than idealized marathon sessions. Simple structures such as time boxing, checklists, and calendar prompts can externalize self-control so you do not have to rely on willpower all day. Environmental design matters too. Controlling phone access, using website blockers, and setting up cues that signal work mode can prevent derailment before it starts. By treating productivity as design rather than moral strength, readers can build routines that keep them moving even when energy and mood fluctuate. Lastly, sustainable change, self-compassion, reflection, and relapse planning, long-term improvement requires more than a burst of inspiration. It requires an approach that survives bad days. The book stresses self-compassion as a practical tool, not a soft excuse. Harsh self-criticism tends to increase stress and avoidance, while self-compassion supports honest reflection and faster recovery after setbacks. Finch encourages readers to review procrastination episodes without judgment and identify patterns: what time of day, which task types, what emotions, and what environments lead to delay. That data-driven attitude turns failure into feedback. The book also highlights relapse planning. Since stress, illness, and life disruptions are inevitable, the goal is to have a fallback routine that maintains minimum progress. Readers are guided to create smaller commitments for difficult periods, such as a 5-minute daily start or a single priority task, so the habit of engagement stays alive. Over time, this prevents the all-or-nothing cycle where one missed day becomes a lost week. Sustainable change emerges from repeated repairs, realistic expectations, and systems that support consistency more than perfection. In conclusion, this book is best suited for students, professionals, creatives, and entrepreneurs who feel stuck in cycles of avoidance, last-minute rushing, or endless preparation. It is also valuable for readers who have tried standard productivity advice and found that calendars and to-do lists do not solve the deeper resistance they feel when it is time to start. By treating procrastination as an understandable psychological pattern, the book can improve daily life by reducing guilt, lowering stress, and increasing follow-through on goals that matter, from career projects to health routines and personal learning. The benefit is not only getting more done, but building trust in yourself. You learn that action can be made easier through better triggers, clearer next steps, and healthier emotional coping. Compared to similar books that lean heavily on discipline slogans, this one stands out by focusing on why avoidance happens and how to redesign your behavior with practical tools. It offers a balanced mix of mindset, motivation, and systems, making it worth buying for readers who want lasting change rather than temporary productivity bursts. If you would like to support Hayden Finch, you can buy the book through the Amazon link I've provided in the podcast description. After reading the book, please let me know what you think and share your thoughts. See you around.